Over the years, I've grown to love fishing with my dad and my kids. And so today I brought with me this fish right here. This is a salmon. And so the more I fish, the more I find myself interested in the fish itself. Did you know that an Atlantic salmon in the wild has a very interesting life? They start in a river, migrate to the ocean, and then a couple years later, head back to the river where it all started. Throughout their whole life, they're gonna travel about 1,000 miles. But the hardest part of their journey is when they head back into the river to lay their eggs. That distance alone can be up to 200 miles. And so why is that a big deal? Those 200 miles are all swimming upstream against the flow of the river. Can you imagine how hard that must be with all the water pushing back against it? There are times in our life where it feels like we are swimming upstream, where everything that we do is hard, when someone's pushing back against us or something that needs to be done just can't get finished. Have you ever felt like life is pushing back on you when you're trying to get something done or go somewhere? Hey, pause right here and talk about a time in your life where every step that you took was difficult and you felt like you were swimming upstream. How did you feel? Israel is getting ready for something big. God is going to lead them into the promised land. All of these different cities and the area ahead of them, from the desert around them to the Euphrates River to the Mediterranean Sea, it's all going to be theirs. How exciting. They are finally getting out of the desert that they have been wandering and stuck in for 40 years. Except there's just one thing standing in the way. All of that land, there's already people in it. And so Israel has to take it from them, one city after another, many kings and all of their armies. Yeah, Israel is going to have to go to battle against them, not just once, but many, many times. Can you imagine looking ahead of you at the promised land and realizing how hard it's going to be to take it over as your own? I would be really nervous, disappointed, and probably flustered after all that time in the desert. Israel was like a salmon at the beginning of their journey up the river. It was going to be hard, but God reminded them of his promise to Abraham and to Moses. I will give you every place where you set your foot. And as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Never will I leave you or abandon you. God didn't say he was going to take away all the hard stuff ahead of Israel, but he did say that he will be with them and give them the land that he promised, no matter how difficult the road was ahead. God promises to be with you too, in the good times and the really difficult ones. Take a moment and answer this question. Has God ever showed up in your life at a difficult time? Share that story and encourage someone around you with it. God encourages Israel with one more thing, a little advice for their journey upstream into the promised land. It's going to be hard, but do this and you'll make it through. He says, obey the law I gave you through Moses. Do not turn to the right or to the left. Think about it day and night. Think back to that salmon from earlier. If it were to try to swim upstream sideways, would it be more or less difficult for the fish to get where it was going? It would be a lot harder. God says the same thing to Israel and to us. I have a plan for you, a path for your life. I'll be with you on it, but it'll be hard. Just stay focused on me. Don't do your own thing or follow what the world says. Don't turn to the right or to the left. Keep your eyes focused on my word. Keep them focused on me. Be encouraged. This story, it shows us that God is with you wherever you go, and he gives his word, the Bible, as your guide.